My goodness, there's so many videos out there about how wonderful Vancouver is and all the reasons you should be moving to this city. And there's even more videos all about how much this city sucks and why you shouldn't be moving here. But this video is not one of those videos. This video, I'm describing the types of people that shouldn't be moving to Vancouver. And I've been helping people move to Vancouver for almost 20 years. I talk to people just like you every single day, and I've seen so many successes and so many failures. And one thing that I see time and time again is it's very specific types of people that just can't succeed in moving to Vancouver. They're just not going to ever be happy. And so I want to help you avoid it. If you identify as one of these types of people that I describe in this video, I don't think you should be moving here. It's going to save you a whole lot of heartache and a whole lot of money, not to mention the amount of time and aggravation you and your family are going to experience if you move here and you're the wrong type of person. So watch this video all the way to the end and you're going to know if you should or you shouldn't move to Vancouver. Let's get into it right now. My name is Sebastian Albrecht with the Living in Vancouver, BC team, and welcome back to the channel. This channel is all about moving to and living in Vancouver, and I put out videos just like this one every single week. So if you want to know more about Vancouver, well, you're in the right place. This week, we're talking about the types of people that should not be thinking about moving to Vancouver. And before I get into this any further, I want you to understand that these are general rules. Yes, there are exceptions to these rules. And after watching this video, if you identify as one of these people, you really have to understand yourself to know whether you could be one of these exceptions or not. Nothing is an absolute, and there's always exceptions. So without further ado, let's get into the number one kind of person that most likely won't be happy living in Vancouver. Okay, so number one, let's talk about partiers. If you are a party animal, more than likely Vancouver is not going to be the city for you. This is a relatively sleepy town. There is not a lot going on. Yes, it is probably a bit more of a party town than most of the rest of Western Canada. I mean, after all, it's the largest city west of Ontario in Canada. And so in comparison to places like Regina and Calgary and Edmonton and Kelowna and Victoria, yeah, there's more going on in Vancouver. And so if you're coming from those places, maybe it won't seem so bad. But if you're coming from a bigger city, or if you've lived and experienced places like, I don't know, Tokyo or Berlin or New York City or LA or Toronto or Montreal, those are party cities. Vancouver does not have that vibe. If people are going out, well, they're generally doing it in a little more relaxed way. People do go out, they have fun, they go to concerts, they go to comedy shows, they listen to music, they may hang out in a bar, but there's much more around conversation. There's much more around food, I would say, in Vancouver and the nightlife that people are pursuing. But there's a lot less hardcore partying that happens in Vancouver. Things do close early, and there's not as many options. But in this vein, I also need to warn you, if you do want to party and you're coming from somewhere else, you definitely aren't going to find it in the suburbs of Vancouver. If you think Vancouver is quiet, well, the suburbs of Vancouver are even more quiet. I just did a video a couple weeks ago about what it's like to live in Maple Ridge. I mean, come on, there's 100,000 people that live in Maple Ridge. Like, obviously, that's not going to be the hotbed of nightlife. Similarly, Vancouver is not a massive city. Yes, there's 3.5 million people that live in the region, but we're pretty well spread out. There's 750,000 people that live in the city of Vancouver, and only just over 100,000, I think it's 140,000 people live in the downtown core. So that is the most densely populated area. That is where things are most likely to happen. But even there, in relative terms, this is a relatively sleepy city where you're not going to have the kind of nightlife that you see in many of the global party capitals. And so if you're a party animal, more than likely, Vancouver's not going to feel like the city for you. In the same vein, if you're really into the hustle culture, Vancouver's probably not going to feel like the city for you. It's kind of similar in that people that are really into partying, like take it to an extreme level. It's kind of similar for people that take work to a really extreme level. Vancouver, as I said earlier, is kind of chill and people are relaxed. And so you're not going to find too many people that are really on the same wavelength if you're really extremely driven and just want to go, work. In my experience, people that feel like that can actually feel pretty frustrated when they come to Vancouver. I've told this story before, but many years ago in my late teens, I dated a woman who came here from Toronto for business. And she only lasted, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months before she was like, screw it. I can't stand Vancouver. This city works way too slowly. I'm not going to get ahead. I want to go back to Toronto where I can really push and drive, and other people are like that around me. As I said, you're not going to really find that culture, at least not predominantly, in the Vancouver area. So people don't really stay at work until 10 p.m. or 1 a.m. or whatever it may be. They tend to clock out when they can get away with it, I would say. And sometimes people are going to work a little harder, but other times they're going to take advantage of the weather more than likely. So if it's a beautiful sunny day, you're going to see a lot of people out on the beach or on the street or out in a park enjoying that time because they're taking, maybe they worked a little harder when the weather was crappy. And now that the weather is nice and it's something to take advantage of, this is a city where you want to take advantage of it. So people are going to the beach, they're going out for a run, they're spending time with their friends, and that becomes more of a priority. That sort of work-life balance is something that most people in Vancouver really value rather than just that drive and that hustle culture. And this goes also for dress code. And also people can kind of be driven crazy by this. I had a friend from university, and I went to university in the East Coast. This friend ended up working in California in Texas. And he ended up coming back up to Vancouver to visit me and to renew his visa. And I remember him trying to find work clothes. Like he was a clothes horse. He loved dressing up and dressing in really nice clothes. And he was like, where do I go? Where do I find these clothes in Vancouver? Granted, this was about 25 years ago, but he just couldn't do it. And so, this speaks to that idea of this chill, relaxed vibe that we have. It is a little bit similar all down the west coast of North America. It's similar in Seattle. It's similar in San Francisco and LA. But I would say in Vancouver, we do take it to a bit of an extreme. So if you are one of these people that is really into hustle culture, you may find that Vancouver is not the city for you. And so while Vancouver may not be for you, more than likely the one Canadian city which is really going to speak to you is Toronto. That is a city that never really sleeps. And in my experience, talking to real estate agents, I think real estate agents are a good barometer for this. Like, how long do you expect to work? In some parts of Canada, real estate agents basically just turn off their phones, at 6 p.m. In Vancouver, it's probably later, right? We work a little longer. There's an expectation that we work longer. So we might be working, I might pick up my phone until 8 or 9, depending on the night, depending if there's a deal being done. But in Toronto, it's really common for realtors to be working until 1, 2, 3 in the morning on deals. And that is insane. In Vancouver, if it got past midnight, everybody would just say, let's pick this up in the morning, right? So that gives you another idea of what it's like and what the differences are like and why Toronto might be the place you want to go to if you're really into that hustle culture. So even after I do my best to dissuade you from moving here, you still want to come here and you're thinking of buying a home. Don't forget that I am a real estate agent that has helped hundreds of people do exactly what you're hoping to do. Come to Vancouver, find the right neighborhood, and also find the right home. It's really, really tough to do from a distance, but I've done it day in and day out for almost 20 years. I can help you and your family whenever you're ready. My contact information is right there on the screen. But for now, let's get back to the video. Okay, so the third type of person that probably isn't going to work out in Vancouver is somebody just starting out. If you're young, you have a little bit of education, but not a lot of skills, or less ideally, no education and no skills, it's going to be a really tough go in Vancouver. Number one, because it's an expensive city and housing specifically is expensive. I mean, there's ways around that, and a lot of young people end up sharing housing. You might find an old house in certain areas of Vancouver have 5 or 6 people sharing the space. And there's some condos downtown, some 2-bedroom condos that might have 4 or 5 different people living in them. I mean, there are ways to make it work, but making money in Vancouver as somebody with low skills and low education is really, really tough. We don't have a lot of high-paying jobs for people with low skills. And that's unlike some other parts of Canada. And that's where I would say things are really financially difficult for people when you're not able to rely on the oil and gas sector to give you a really high paying job like you could in Alberta, where without a lot of skill, without a lot of education, you could very quickly be making well over $100,000 a year. And same thing with manufacturing in Southern Ontario. There's a lot of really high paying, low skill, low education work. We don't have that. And so most of those people in Metro Vancouver end up working minimum wage jobs. You're working in a gas station, you're working retail of some kind. It's not an easy go. And there are high paying jobs. Once you come here with skills, with education, with experience, you are more than likely to find good paying jobs. They're not going to pay you a bonus to be here, of course. And I've talked about that in other videos. They rely on people just wanting to be in Vancouver to pull new recruits in. So you're not going to get a bonus for the the expense of living in Vancouver. But if you have those skills, if you have those education, if you're a highly desirable employee, more than likely you're going to find a pretty good job here. And there's lots of opportunities also for people that are highly entrepreneurial. There is a pretty strong culture of entrepreneurship in the Lower Mainland and in Vancouver specifically. But as I've been saying, for people that are just starting out, it is honestly, truly a struggle. And so you really want to second guess if Vancouver is going to be the right place to make a go of it when you're just starting out. And more than likely, if you are just starting out, the cities where you're probably going to have more success than Vancouver would be places like Regina, Edmonton, Calgary, or anywhere in Southern Ontario, honestly, other than Toronto, perhaps, because that's also another very expensive city. If you're all about that urban lifestyle, well, Vancouver may not be for you. Yes, Vancouver, the region, has 3.5 million people. And yes, we are the largest city west of Ontario, the third largest metro region in Canada. There's just 750,000 people in the city of Vancouver. That's barely in the top 10 cities in all of Canada. And a lot of people don't actually realize that. Yes, downtown Vancouver is the most densely populated area in all of Canada. And yes, you can have an urban experience living in downtown Vancouver, but it's tiny. It's just 3.6 square kilometers. You can walk from one side of it to the other in, I don't know, maybe an hour. And that's not, you're barely going to break it. Well, I was going to say you're barely going to break a sweat, but it is uphill and then downhill. So I'd probably get a little sweaty doing that. But my point still stands. This isn't a place that somebody that just loves being in a city really wants to be. You got to love more than the urban nature of Vancouver. And we're going to get into a bit of that a little bit later on. But you have to keep in mind that this city is bigger than Calgary, it's bigger than Regina, it's bigger than Edmonton, but there are much larger cities around the world that offer a lot more for an urbanite, for somebody that really wants to, all the vibrancy of being in a city like Montreal, like Toronto, like New York City, like Berlin, like London. Those are at a totally different scale. And so if you're moving to Vancouver, you have to understand that this is still a relatively small city and there is a bit of give and take here. So if you're all about that urban lifestyle, keep in mind, Vancouver may not be for you. And so of course, we offer a lot of the urban amenities that people really desire. Things like concerts, sports, great restaurants, and arts and culture to a degree, but it's all relative to our size. And there are obviously much more populous cities that offer a whole lot more, and you have to put that in context. And so if you really love that urban lifestyle, you might find that cities like Toronto and Montreal, rather than Vancouver, are where you want to be. And fifth, if you don't enjoy a temperate climate, well, I gotta say, Vancouver is definitely gonna be the wrong place for you. This is a city that's on the edge of a rainforest. Yes, we do get rain. And yes, our temperatures are not all that extreme. So if you crave being in an extreme environment, a place that's really cold or really hot or really dry, Vancouver is not gonna be for you. Even really wet, like as much as Vancouver is known for its rain, there are places where it rains a whole lot more than it does in Vancouver. And our rain is concentrated in the winter months. Our summers are also relatively mild. You don't find that we get a ton of heat as you do in other parts of Canada, like you would in Edmonton or Regina. This is a place where this weekend is the September long weekend, and it's going to be about 25 degrees. It's going to be warm. It's going to be nice. Most likely it's going to be sunny, and there's going to be a ton of people at the beach or at lakes, on sailing boats or going for a swim, but it's not roasting hot. This isn't Houston, where you can't go outside in the middle of summer. And the same thing goes for the middle of winter. We don't get an excessive amount of cold. It gets down to maybe -5. We get the occasional snowfall, but it doesn't tend to last very long. We don't tend to get a ton of snow that sticks to the ground for very long periods of time. And I know both of these things can drive some people crazy. They just want it to be like it was when they were kids. They want a white Christmas, or they want summers that are nice and hot. And so if you want those extremes, this city is not going to be for you. If you enjoy that mildness, that sort of comfort of being somewhere in between, then this might end up being the absolute perfect place for you. And if you do want extremes in the summer months, a place like Kelowna, a place like Edmonton, a place like Regina might be more for you in Canada. Even Toronto, where I was a little while ago, and that was in June, I think. And and I was there and I was sweating at 7:30 in the morning, 10-minute walk outside, and I was drenched in sweat because of how humid it was. That's not an experience you're going to have in Vancouver at all. And then in terms of winters, if you want that extreme and winter environment, again, I'm going to bring up Kelowna, again, I'm going to bring up Edmonton, and again, I'm going to bring up Regina, and maybe Toronto even, but those are all cities that have much more extreme environments than Vancouver does. Lastly, I don't see a point in moving to Vancouver if you really don't value the outdoors. Moving to Vancouver is generally a sacrifice. You're coming to a place that more than likely you're not going to get paid quite as much as you could in other places, and also more than likely you're going to be paying more for housing than just about anywhere else. So you're making a sacrifice to move here, and why would you be doing that if you don't value one of the biggest benefits of being in Vancouver? And that benefit is being surrounded by natural beauty. It is around every corner that you see in Vancouver. This is a gorgeous city, and that in and of itself is enough for a lot of people. But going outdoors is another big asset, and having world-class outdoor access at your doorstep is one of the biggest benefits of being in Vancouver. Just 5 minutes from downtown and you're on the beach, or half an hour from downtown and you can be up on the ski slope, or you can be backpacking and not see another human for days. I mean, these are experiences you can't have in every part of the world. So if you love skiing, if you love downhill mountain biking, if you love running, if you love sailing, if you love swimming, whatever it might be outdoors, this is a place not only that has access to the outdoors where you can do all these things, but it also has a climate where you can do all of these activities pretty much year round. Yeah, there are actually people that are crazy enough to jump in the ocean every single day of the year. It's not me. I am not that tough, but there are definitely people that I know that are doing that every single day in and day out, year in and year out. And so no matter what it is that you want to do, this is a place where you can actually do that. And I brought up Houston and how hot it can get in the summer months in Houston. I went down there a few years ago to be interviewed for a job. And I realized when I was down there that their winters are as extreme as a Canadian winter. There was nobody outdoors. I thought that would be a great place for me because I could go for a run every day. I could go and play tennis. I could go out to the beach, not right in Houston, but you get the drift. No, the reality was this is a place where that's just not physically feasible because it gets so hot in the summer months that you could actually die. That just doesn't happen in Vancouver. Obviously, we talked about the temperate climate, but it's this access to nature and the outdoors. And if you love nature, if you love the outdoors, that's the trade-off that you're going to be willing to make to live here. And you're probably going to see value in making that trade-off. But if you don't value the outdoors, you simply will not be willing to make that trade-off. And perhaps the biggest thing that I see very consistently, the thread amongst all the people that just can't make a go of it in Vancouver, is that they just don't enjoy the outdoors. They don't see any kind of value in it. And thus, this place ends up kind of sucking. And there's better places for you. And of course, a city like Montreal, a city like Toronto, or just about anywhere else. But if you love the outdoors, well, there's perhaps no better utopia than Vancouver. Hopefully I gave you a lot to think about in this video. It was a lot of fun to put together. It was actually an exercise in kind of thinking outside the box, thinking about moving to Vancouver in a bit of a different way, and really spending a lot of time thinking about all of the experiences I've had helping people over the last 20 years or nearly 20 years. And quite honestly, over my entire lifetime, all of the conversations that I've had with people have sort of been interwoven into this particular video. And I hope that came through in the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you are still thinking of moving to Vancouver, even after I've put all these roadblocks in place and had you really think deeply about what kind of things are important to you. And so if you are planning on moving here and buying a home and you need somebody to help you with that, I am a real estate agent that has done this hundreds and hundreds of times. My contact information is right there on the screen. I can help you and your family whenever it is that you're ready. But of course, if you're not quite ready, I have well over 100 videos. I think it's about 135 videos now. I keep building that back catalog of videos for you to answer all of your questions and hopefully ease the anxieties that you have about moving to Vancouver. Any questions that you have, you should find answers in those videos. And if you can't find an answer to them, be sure to reach out and ask me about the questions that you do have about moving to Vancouver. I love hearing from you guys, and I love giving advice as well. Thank you very much for watching this video all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. But before you go, there's one video that I think you're really going to want to see. If you're really interested in moving to Vancouver, you want to know what the future of Vancouver is, and that's this video that I did just a couple weeks ago. I loved making that video, and the response has been absolutely absolutely fantastic. So check out that video all about the future of Vancouver. Thank you so much for watching. I will hopefully see you next week.